but he's not your sixth man. They don't have an actual sixth man. They tried to move to Tyrese Maxey, but then there was an open glaring spot for them in the starting lineup. They just have to find better talent. They have to find a way to do it either through trades or whatever. But I think the Philadelphia organization, I think they'll be able to retain Harden for one more year. One more.
I don't necessarily think so. In fact, this is maybe a hot take, but I think Harden is like a huge competitor. I'm sure he wants to win. I'm sure he wants to win it all. That's the reason why he takes a pay cut. But I can guarantee that he's regretting having taken that pay cut. And I think he's probably a little upset. We've seen him do this time and time again on different teams. Mm-hmm. He'll, he's in Houston. I think he got the Houston coach fired. Goes to Brooklyn. They're not super successful. Steve Nash got fired, and now we're in Philly, and Doc Rivers is most likely getting fired. I just don't think the guy has that competitive nature in him. Mm-hmm. I think that he's going to want that more leisure, enjoyable life, maybe finishing up his career. I still think, he can win. He's a good player. He's obviously a great talent, but I don't think that he's going to want to stay in Philadelphia.
I think that if he goes back to Houston, it would blow my mind because of the way he left there to begin with. Like, he put Houston through this is what a lot of people forget, but I'll never forget this. He put them through so much drama. They tried Dwight Howard. It didn't work. Then they went with Chris Paul. It didn't work. Then they went with Russell Westbrook, and it didn't work. And James said, trade all of them. I don't want anything to do with any of these guys. If he thinks he can go back there and have that same kind of diva attitude, there is no way, if I own the Rockets, seeing the history that he had in Houston, there's no way I'd take him back. With that said, I know that Houston does want to make some big swings, especially with what their GM kind of said during their exit interview. So, JD, do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, we have heard some reports, and if you want to look up exactly where we found it, Houston, the Rockets are trying to make a push to be relevant. And, the reports are saying that they are willing to trade, Jalen Green. They're willing to trade their lottery pick for some veterans. And not only that, they hired Ime Udoka, who was a great coach, with the Celtics. He had that, that huge blow up where he was taken out of there. But I still think he's a good coach. They're picking him up. I think that their future could be looking bright. In fact, I think that it's very likely, just like I was mentioning with James Harden, per Woj, that he's feeling a little shaky about being in Philadelphia, that he might in fact want to go to Houston. I think that if he goes to Houston, in fact, I actually think that is the plan, and Houston's preparing for this. Because if they get James Harden, he's still in his early 30s. He's still got some, potential to really make a run.
He does. And guys, if you're wondering too, don't mean to cut you off, JD, that article was found on Sports Illustrated. I just typed in our Houston Rockets GM, Raphael Stone, and the article popped up. So if you guys want to go check that out, you absolutely can. JD, please continue.
Yeah, I still think that Harden has a lot left in the tank. He's still got a lot of potential to be good. And I think that Houston could be, a potential next really good team, maybe even a super team. And here's why I think this, Doc. I think that if they're willing to trade Jalen Green, who I think was their number one option, as well as their lottery pick, which I think they might end up trading, we're going to find out tonight where that is going to lie, whether it's, 1, 2, 3, 4, a little later. But, if they get somebody, they're projected to get the number 2 pick in Scoot Henderson. I think that guy's going to be a generational. If they're willing to give him, I think they could get some good pieces. And I know a couple teams that might be willing to do it. One of which, I see in Portland. So the Trailblazers. And I know that this is some speculation, but we've also heard Damian Lillard say he doesn't want to be on a rebuilding team. Now, I could very much see the Rockets wanting to trade that pick, and Portland, who's on a rebuild. They got Shaden Sharp, who was a really young guy, but he's showing a lot of talent. They've got Anthony Simons. They're trying to do a rebuild.
Jeremy Grant, Yusuf Nurkic.
Jeremy Grant too. But I see Portland as a team that's on the rebuild. And so Damian Lillard being traded and then getting a generational talent, maybe like Scoot Henderson, or maybe one of the other, third or fourth pick, that's going to set up Portland's future, to be a really good team in the next maybe 3 to 5 years. And Damian Lillard, he doesn't want to be on a rebuilding team. You throw him in Houston. Maybe you have Houston trade Jalen Green, that lottery pick for Damian Lillard. Then you pair up Damian Lillard with someone like James Harden. You got a couple young guys that are pretty good. You have a ton of cap space if you want to get into that as well. I know Houston has a lot of cap space. Yes, you get some more depth. What do you think about that, Doc?
I think that I agree with you absolutely. I think Houston is, with the hiring of Ime Udoka, who, regardless, like just what you said, love him or hate him for his actions off of the basketball court, he's a hell of a coach. He got the Celtics to the finals last year. I think he's a brilliant tactician. I think he knows how to make really good adjustments. Hiring a winning coach like that is going to change the culture of your franchise. Steven Silas just never had a chance. We just have to admit that. And then with Raphael Stone coming out and saying that they're very happy with the young talent they already have, unless they get the number 1 pick, which they would be a fool to trade. I think that everything else is on the table.
And Doc, can I mention something real fast?
Yeah.
Something else to really consider too is Ime Udoka, if I'm not mistaken, was an assistant coach with Brooklyn. And so he was working with James Harden as well.
There you go. I like you said as well, they have more cap space than I think any other team going into the off season. So if you could sign Harden and try to make a pass for, hell, even Jeremy Grant would probably be a really good fit next to James Harden. Under Ime Udoka, all of a sudden you're a much more relevant team. And I can see that team, depending on what other pieces you get and put around, the superstar you're trying to acquire, they absolutely could make a push for the playoffs, and that would be really exciting for them. I know that the fans in Houston are antsy. They're sick of being irrelevant. I don't blame them. They've sucked since Harden left, which would shock me if they allowed him to come back. Oh, man, it's like dating your ex-girlfriend. Like, you broke up for a reason, right? You don't move back, man. But
forgive and forget.
They're going to figure something out. And I think that they're making all the right moves to do that. I think hiring a coach of Ime's caliber was a very smart move. Great first move. And then saying you're open to trade your lottery pick. Let's say they do get the second pick. Even the 4th pick. There are going to be a lot of teams clamoring to try to get that pick if you're open to trading it.
And Doc, I think another potential area or potential trade suitor could be the Phoenix Suns. I know that the Phoenix Suns have kind of been in a bit of a wreck since after they lost to the Nuggets in quite the fashion that they did. And they might be wanting to switch things up. You could maybe reunite Chris Paul with James Harden, maybe go after DeAndre Ayton? But overall, I think the Suns is somebody or a team that we should be talking about.